So James, I want you to tell everyone first how like you have this daily newsletter that goes out. Um, and it's always highlighting the clients that you've worked with, like their success, and you're just like constantly showing people results over and over and over with the kids that you work with. And I know you send this to all the parents that are in your program, right?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things that I know people they've asked me a lot about over the last several years is like, how often to send these, like, how consistent does it need to be? So a couple of questions I wanted to ask you is like, how long have you been doing this sort of like update via email between you and the parents that are in your academy?
I've actually been doing it for 30 years.
30 years. And I know when people hear that, it's hard for someone to imagine doing it even just for like 2 weeks, something every day. What gave you the idea 30 years ago to start just doing that every day?
I felt that it was important for all of the parents of the clients in my program to see the progress that all of the students are making in the program. And so I decided early on that when our students are having success um, during basketball season, in the postseason, when they're playing in showcase tournaments or AAU tournaments, after training with us and preparing for those particular tournaments and showcases, to be able to um, showcase also their success that they're getting because those kids work very hard to prepare for basketball season. Um, the newsletters that are going out now currently during basketball season is called our in-season
Mm,
newsletters. And so these are students who are continuing to train during basketball season outside of what they do with their teams,
right.
and that type of thing. So they really, really put the work in to get the results that they are getting. And I just think that this is a way to um, acknowledge them, congratulate them, and then for our entire parent base to be able to see that they're being recognized. And our parents love it. They tell me to this day
Mm,
that they can't wait, every week to see, what I'm going to send out and the progress of the students
hmm.
and we even do it with our college students, our students who are in college. We continue to keep track of their success as well. We attend their games during basketball season. The clip that you just showed from Sierra, one of our students, um, she plays here in Dallas every year and also plays close to Dallas with the college that she attends. Yeah, that's Sierra.
Hmm.
And she's one of our homeschool students uh, as well. And so she is having a great senior year. Her team, Xavier New Orleans, they're off to a 12-0 start. First time in school history that they've had a record like that.
Wow.
And uh, and she's doing extremely well. She's been with us. Sierra's been with us since maybe the seventh grade.
Wow.
And, but the other reason why this is important in terms of also sending out the newsletters about our college students and that is because and that's actually a picture of myself and my other coach, Coach Holcomb, at her game after her game last season here in Dallas, and she's actually coming back here in a couple of weeks to play here in Dallas, and we'll be at her game when she comes back.
Very cool.
Um, it develops that sense of community and makes the program more like a family program because the kids and the parents have been in the program a long time.
Hmm.
So oftentimes I refer to uh, the parents and the kids in our program as Jeb's family
Hmm.
because, you know, When the parents come to training with the kids year round, they're all sitting together during the session. So they get to know each other very well. They get to know the kids very well. And they like to follow the kids and see how they're doing and be able to keep up with them also when they're in college. So we're kind of like one big family. That's why
Hmm.
it's important.
That's amazing. A lot of people that I talk to, like I've always been talking about email newsletters and why that's important and building your contact list and being consistent with sending emails. And just from a marketing perspective for you, like how do you think that's helped you just overall with your business? Because like you're so consistent doing that. Like how do you feel like that helps you on the business side?
Oh my goodness, it helps tremendously. It just helps seal the deal on a new client that signed up for our full 12-month year program and paid $4,800 up front.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
so this particular client who was referred to us signed up for our Christmas break training program. So we have training during Christmas break when the kids are out of school,
Hmm.
and we encourage them to invite other families and letting them know that that's a good time for other families to try out our program who may be interested in the program. Well, this particular family signed up, wanted to try out the program and see how they like it. So when they signed up, I got their contact information. They automatically went on my email list. And
Hmm.
so during Christmas break week, as those emails was going out and the updates was going out on our college kids and on our kids who are playing in tournaments during the Christmas holiday, our high school kids playing tournaments, and the parent was getting those newsletters, and she was so impressed
Hmm.
with the results that our kids was getting on all the different levels. And she said the one thing that convinced her to go ahead and sign up for the full 12-month program is when she was at our actual session.
Hmm.
Um, and she was sitting there with other parents and talking to other parents who had been in our program
Hmm.
3 to 5 years.
Hmm.
But not only that, she was looking at the training that we were doing.
Hmm.
And I want to say it was probably the second, for sure, the third day, she was doing video clips with her phone and sending them to her husband doing the,
That's
and
awesome.
telling him, she said, you got to see this. You got to see how advanced these kids are in their terms of their skill sets. And these kids have been with him at least 3 to 5 years. And they were the same age or grade as her son in seventh grade.
Hmm.
And some of those kids had already been with us since maybe first and third grade and had developed into some of the best players in the country through their skill development. She was seeing that for herself. And
Yeah.
then she was talking to the other parents. And and so she said that convinced her that that was the right place for her son
Hmm.
to said this is exactly what he needs. A program like this is exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And her husband agreed, and they signed up.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's getting me to realize that you have something very, very powerful set up in your business that I know most coaches don't have this, but if we take what you just said, you have the session that they're at, so they really, really like the session, but the parents are also talking to the other parents that are already in your academy. So by them doing that, those parents are essentially selling your program to
Yes.
the new parent. And then you have the social proof on the back end of this with the newsletter, where it's just like constantly talking about the results. Because that's really all you do is you're just showcasing result after result after result. And it makes it undeniable. And I do think it's one of the biggest problems that coaches have is like they're not they make everything about themselves. They're not making it about their actual customers. And when you have that process in place where they come to the session, they can talk to other parents that have been there for 3 to 5 years, and they keep seeing the results over and over and over within a short period of time. Uh, it all of that stuff is just selling the parent on joining. But you got
Correct.
to have a great product, which, fortunately you do.
Correct.
Uh, Very cool, man. That's awesome. And I'm curious because like a lot of people that hear you say you've been doing that for 30 years, like that's gonna sound ridiculous to some people. They're like, there's no like they will doubt that. They will think that is impossible. But let's just talk directly to the people that um, they're not writing any newsletters yet. They're not they don't really know where to start with that. What would be like one thing you would encourage them to do to like take an initial just first step towards having whether it be a daily newsletter or a weekly newsletter with their clients?
Sure. And that would be just to start to really look at progress and success that their clients are making. And even if you start just by emailing the parent
Yeah.
and letting the parent know the progress that you're seeing in the student, that's a good way to start.
Hmm.
I used to, before I started sending out the actual emails in a newsletter, I used to call the parents on the phone and then email the parents personally and talk to them about the progress that I'm seeing in their kid. And and um, and I have what's called an action plan for all of our students. They all have their own personal action plan in terms of when they first sign up for the program and go through the evaluation. I sit down with the kid and the parent, and we write out their action plan geared toward accomplishing the particular goals that they've set for themselves. And then we talk about um, whether or not those goals are achievable,
Hmm.
and if when we decide what is achievable in terms of their goals, then we set up the short-term goal and the long-term goal for the students. So I started out just by calling parents on the phone and say, hey, look, after 4 weeks, this is what I'm seeing in Johnny. He's progressing very well in these areas, and we're going to continue to build on this. And
Hmm.
so I started out doing it that way with the parents individually,
Right.
and then I built it up and just started making it known to the entire group.
Right. Yeah, that's great advice because I think people can get overwhelmed in their mind thinking, oh, you know, what can I say that's going to appeal to everyone? And just starting sending out manual one-on-one emails is so much better than doing nothing because like that can give you the confidence to start doing it more and start reaching out to more people. And I mean, I remember for me specifically, uh, the only people that were on my contact list when I started sending mass emails, it was me, it was my brothers, and it was my mom. And I was like for some reason I was nervous sending stuff out to more people. And then but I did that just to practice. And then I was like, okay, like my clients should see this. Like this is going to help them better understand like updates,
Yes,
promotions, results, like all that sort of stuff. And it's funny, like how many thousands of emails I've sent since then. Like
yes,
that really is like one of the drivers in my company is email marketing. And I know for you, that's been a really, really key thing to seal the deal with a lot of these people that come into to train with you. Sierra, um, you said she's been with you since seventh grade,
correct.
right? And she's obviously been in your program for years. Uh, this probably isn't the first email you've ever written about her. Like,
Oh no.
like you've probably written several. And one thing I heard you say earlier is like People look at your business as more of like a family environment. So it's like they might not see Sierra at a training session, but they know of her and they know her story and they know her where she's at right now in her career, and they can follow that from far away because you're tying that into your business, and you do that across really all your students. That's I mean, that's what I've been seeing ever since I've started reading your newsletter. I mean, I read it every day whenever you send it.
Yeah, and correct. And another reason why that's important, Ben, is because, and I specifically pointed out that she's a homeschool student.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why that's important is because I have uh, several homeschool students that I've worked with now for almost 20 years. A lot of the kids in my program are what we call overachievers.
Hmm.
Okay. And what that means is that generally when kids are homeschooled or they from a small private school, they or tend to be in a category to where the perception is that because they're homeschooled or because they attend a small private school, then they really um, don't have the ability to play college basketball on a scholarship
Hmm.
because of, in some cases, the lack of exposure or the lack of playing at a big public school, against the best competition.
Hmm.
And so the value of our training program is that we take students who are in that particular category who have some ability and they have the desire to work hard and train and prepare themselves to be able to compete at a high level. Our training program system is designed to do that. And that's another reason why the kids in our program being stay with us for multiple years because they know themselves that in order to progress to that level, it's going to take work over a
Hmm.
certain number of years for them to get to the level to where they can compete with players from big public schools for scholarships in college. And so we develop our homeschool players, our players from small private schools, who, again, they have the ability. They just need the right system to really develop their talent. And them, along with their parents, have to be committed to the process.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've seen is that, through the rigorous training that we do, we get them where they need to be physically, because to play college basketball on scholarship, you got to be physically tough. You got to be mentally tough,
Hmm.
and and you have to have really good skill sets. And then I'll say this: the other thing that's really become pretty much a motto, and I got this from a friend of mine who's an NBA agent, and this is what he told me when I used to train sometimes players, preparing them for the NBA pre-draft camp. He says players need to be able to bring value to a team and impact winning.
I
And
like that.
so I share that with all of my students when we're going through the training process in terms of how that's what we're preparing them to do in terms of playing competitive basketball on the high school and or the college level, is
Hmm.
that we have to prepare you to where you're going to be able to bring value to a team and impact winning.
Hmm.
And our system has been very successful at doing that. But the key to that success is that our students and our parents understand the process and they're willing to commit to the process.
Right.
Whereas if you're getting, if you're dealing with kids out there, and a lot of times some other, training coaches may run into this, is that You got kids out there who are high level kids. They're already ranked. They're playing at big public schools or on the national AAU level and those types of things. Well, those are not going to be the type of kids, okay, that you're going to be able to acquire most of the time in your program because they're going to already be picked up at the higher levels,
Right.
okay? Whereas to my suggestion to trainers and even middle school and high school basketball coaches that are maybe working with homeschool kids or private school kids or players in general on the middle school and high school level who are overachievers, going to have to be overachievers, meaning that they have the ability, but in order to get to the level that they need to get to, they're going to need 3 to 5 years of work and
Hmm.
proper training to develop in order to maximize their potential.
Hmm.
So the reason why in our system the parents value that, okay, because we talk about the 30-year track record of that. The other thing that signifies our 30-year track record is that we now have second generation kids in our program.
Right.
Also, so that's another thing that signifies that.
Right.
But but the reason why parents value that is the other aspect of that is that whether students in our program go on to play college basketball or not, if they've spent that on average 3 to 5 years in our program and have gone through the 12-month training program with the rigorous stuff that we do during the summer and all the things that would, builds discipline and character and all of that, is from a career perspective, and we've tracked this, and I think I told you before, the reason why I had to start tracking stuff is because I was awarded uh, government funding
Hmm.
um, for 4 years at one point in the program to where I had to work with underserved kids from an underserved community and have them go through my program from, I think it was from seventh grade through 12th grade or eighth grade through 12th grade, and it was funded to be with me. So we had to track everything, and because we had to report it to the U.S. Department of Justice in terms of those kids' progress. Okay, but one of the reasons why I was awarded that funding from the government was that they were looking for programs out there already who was having success with youth in
Right.
terms of sports and the life skills piece. Okay,
Hmm.
our students, even if they don't play college basketball, they average between 80,000 and $500,000 a year in terms of their salaries.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's, I mean, because I always, when I talk to coaches, one of the things I always think of is when they're dealing with kids that are in middle school and high school, if they're preparing them to go get a college scholarship, how much money that is saving the parents or the kid. If the kid is going to go into student loan debt and they're going to be paying that off for the next 30 years of their life, like that stuff holds people back so much financially when they get done with college. And then like on top of that though, if if they don't get a college basketball scholarship, but they're coming out with more money because of who they are as a person before they get to college because of your program. I mean, that's even more valuable. It's like if you have someone making 80K, between 80K and $500,000 a year, I mean, that is like completely life changing, regardless of them getting a college scholarship or not. And that's something that I know for me personally, it took me a little bit of time. It probably took me 3 to 4 years of actually being in the training business to realize that I'm not a skills trainer. And I think the moment I figured that out is when I really started to take more time digging into the things that actually helped kids outside of skills training, which is
Yeah.
like the confidence, mental peace, the life development. Um, and that's what makes great programs. It's not going to be just how good you are as a trainer, because like, you know, I could go down the street and find 10 basketball trainers right now, and they could be great at coaching, but it's like, what kind of students are they creating?
Yeah.
And
And
yeah.
then and the reason why what we're talking about right now being is so important, and actually has been the key to my longevity. One aspect of the key to my longevity in this business
Hmm.
is that people don't care how much you know until
Hmm.
they see how much you care.
Yep.
Because when people see that you really care about them as a person, and that's shown to them,
Hmm.
and and the parents see that, and that goes back, it's like the one thing that I hear a lot in terms of uh, when parents will comment about our program, or give us 5 stars reviews, and and that type of thing. I hear this a lot with the different parents, and they'll say, that they'll talk about how our coaches show up for the kids' games
Hmm.
unannounced, and um, we go to our kids' college games and that type of thing. And that's something that we do because we genuinely care about our kids and their families. That's not something we're paid to do.
Right.
So the parents take notice of that, and they see, all the little things that we do for our students apart from basketball. Like, for example, we collaborate with other organizations in terms of our kids, doing community services, and our kids being able to get and apply for academic scholarships and other type of scholarships to college. If they're not going to be able to play basketball in college, we have several kids out of our program that get academic scholarships. I've had when I'm serving kids from underserved families and stuff like that. I've had people to come in and help those families fill out the paperwork uh, to get grants. I had 2 young ladies years ago that was in my program when I had the funding to work with underserved kids. And when they went on their college visit, I went with the families on the college visit, and we filled out their paperwork for potential grants. And both those young ladies qualified from a standpoint of grant money, and the grant money covered everything.
Wow.
So the college coach did not even have to award them athletic scholarships because their grants took care of room and board and tuition. And it was
That's
for
amazing.
2 year junior college, room and board and tuition. And so those are the type of things outside of just basketball training that we do
Hmm.
uh, with our clients and with our families. And back when we were awarded the funding from the government, and what they wanted to track over those years is those, particularly the young ladies that we had in the program, they funded us to work with an entire team. And so what they wanted to track over that period of time from those girls being in junior high and high school is whether they made it through high school without dropping out, whether they made it through high school without getting pregnant, and whether they went on to college. Okay. So all of those young ladies either got an academic scholarship or a basketball scholarship,
Wow.
and they all graduated from college and are all doing really, really well now in their professional careers.
Wow. That's amazing. I need to show you this because while you're talking, this is one of my favorite quotes ever. Let me know if you've ever seen this quote before.
Oh yeah, the one from Billy Graham.
Yeah. Have you seen
Yes,
that quote before?
yes, yes.
I remember this is a personal story, but I remember it was in 2000, I believe it was in 2011. So a long, long time ago. Um, I remember there was like a period in my business where hmm, I wanted to help more kids and like do all this stuff in my business. And it just, where my brain was going and what was actually happening, it was on two different wavelengths.
Yeah.
And I remember uh, I was just very, ambitious, very driven, trying to make things go faster than they were going. And uh, there was a parent of one of the kids that I was training that sent me that quote. And then I remember because like it gave me so much perspective though to just kind of be in the moment and just
Hmm.
like focus on the people that are in front of me and like understanding that, you know what, like regardless of where I'm at, like this is having an actual big impact on those. And it got me to completely change. Like that quote right there got me to really change a lot with my approach to business and an approach to how I'm dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. Because I think coaching at the end of the day, and some people might disagree with this, but like I think it really is a gift that most people are just not cut out for. Like I think long term, it's something that you just have to have it in your heart
Yes.
to be a coach and because you're just constantly giving. That's just
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're serving others. Um, when you were talking, you made me think about years ago. I had a meeting with the pastor of my church, assistant pastor of my church, about my basketball program because that's the time that it was exploding. Um, we were in two locations, um, and I needed some wisdom and guidance on progressing with the program. So I met with my pastor, and one of the things that he said with me, and this was really like a real turning point with me, or really helped me zero in on really, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. He said, secularly, they call this mentoring.
mhm,
And he says, but truly what you're doing is you're discipling these kids and you're discipling families. He said, the reason why is he says, you are touching these kids and these families actually more than the church. He said, they're with you more than they're in church. He says,
yeah,
during the summer, they're with you 4 days a week for
mhm,
8 weeks. During the school year, they're with you 2 to 3 times a week. He
mhm.
says they don't even attend church that much.
Right,
and,
right.
and he says, and then, you got the small groups, you got the one-on-one, and you have them for average of 3 to 5 years. And he said, Jesus was with the disciples for 3 years.
Mhm, mhm,
And so,
mhm,
and he said, so that's what he was saying from his perspective. He was saying that's the power that I'm
mhm,
seeing in your program in terms of the results that you're getting with the families, in terms of the connection that you're
mhm,
making with the families, and that type of thing as well.
mhm.
Uh, because we do have a spiritual and faith component to
Yeah,
our program also,
it's
uh,
amazing.
for our families as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. I had to share that Billy Graham. I
Yep.
figured you'd seen it before.
Yep.
No, that's awesome, man. And that's why, you know, as the years go by, when I think of just the overall the coaches that are in our program, and I don't know, and you saw, like, I mean, I'll pull it up on the screen while we're here, but uh you saw, and you posted too. I saw that right before we got on this call, but it's like $300,000 from, that you did last year. Nick did
Mhm.
279, Jim 137, 162, 100, 237. It's like when I look at these coaches that are posting those types of numbers, the thing that I know is very different about what they do than what most coaches in this industry do is it's like the level of care that they have is it's just 10 out of 10, off the charts. That's just like who they are as a person. They love helping kids at a different level than what most people uh like how most coaches are in this industry, like how they care. But it's the stuff that they do on the back end of their business, the life development, the character development. That's the sort of stuff that at the end of the day makes the biggest difference in their business is they have those types of things built into their business that make them so different than everybody else in their area that is in business or tries to do this. And and I'm sure you've seen this, but it's like, especially in your area, how many more skill development trainers there are right now in 2025 than there were in 2020 or 2015 or 2010. I mean, you're probably one of the first people, and you've probably seen hundreds of people in your area since then that try to go do this. And I think the missing link for a lot of these people is, like, what is their program actually about? Is
And
it?
I'm so glad that you're touching on these particular points, Ben, because the one thing that I get all the time is from people is they tell me, they'll say over the past 30 years, there's so many people that have tried to do what you do,
Mm-hmm,
and they've come and they've gone,
mm-hmm,
and you're still around,
mm-hmm,
and still and going stronger than ever. And the reason why that's important for coaches to know and and understand is it's not so much about um, you know about the person themselves and what they've done.
yeah,
And the reason why I say that is because the area that I'm in, there's a lot of former NBA basketball players, highly accomplished basketball players,
mm-hmm,
women and men in the
mm-hmm,
area that I'm in. And and a lot of them have done skills training, and some of them are doing skills training right now, but they're not having success. Some have
mm-hmm,
started out doing it and are no longer doing it. Uh, I have several former NBA players and NFL players who kids have gone through my program, and some are currently in my program now in terms of it's and that type of thing. But the key to the longevity is not just the basketball training or the skills training in itself, but it's a combination of how are you
mm-hmm,
as a person connecting with those kids and those families uh, in a way that's going to benefit them holistically,
yeah,
not just as a basketball player. And
yep,
so because that's a part of my curriculum, the life skills development, and and then we have a lot of people in our program that the faith aspect of it and the Christian aspect of it is important to them also in terms of that type of environment,
mm-hmm,
uh, because of the society that we live in now.
yeah,
And so when they see the character of our kids, um, that's the one thing that blow new parents away because I have what's called a LIT program. LIT means leaders in training. And that means I'll have one of my students who've been with me for years and they may be in high school or college students. They will assist me with the training and
Wow.
train other students. And then I'll let them participate in some of the sessions and talk to the kids and that type of thing. And when other parents come in and see this and they look at uh, the leadership skills of those kids and how well the other kids relate to them and respect them, they're like, man, they're like, this is powerful.
Yeah.
Remember Tony Dorsett that played
Yeah.
with the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Okay, well, his daughter Jasmine was in my program from seventh grade through 12th grade. And he was there at the early morning program, sitting down, talking to me. I had one of my students who was a college student who had been with me for several years, since like he was in the eighth grade. And he was like my assistant director of the summer program. Well, I was sitting there talking with Tony Dorsett, and Tony Dorsett was looking at uh, the students going through our training program and going through the circuit drills and all that type of stuff. And he was watching his daughter. And we were sitting there talking for about an hour.
Hmm.
That's what he said. He said, we've been over here, talking for about an hour. He says, I've noticed something. He said, that young man that you got out there directing the program, he has not missed a beat.
Hmm.
He was just saying this thing is so structured, so organized. And he says, I can already see after these kids go through 6 weeks of this, he says they're going to be so far ahead in terms of agility and the discipline and everything that they're developing. And he says, my daughter sets her own alarm clock to get up to make sure that we make it here.
I love that.
That's how vested she is in the program.
Hmm.
And so, and that's what when we talk about in terms of what parents look at, and when you have people at that level of background, someone like Tony Dorsett, and then Mark Aguirre, he had three daughters go through my program, uh, and that type of thing. So when they come in themselves, because they kind of know sports and know how things should be done and structured
Right.
and that type of thing. But when they see that you have the basketball piece down, and then they see the life skills piece, and they see the character of all the other kids and the discipline, and they're like, this is the environment that I want my kid to be in,
Hmm.
apart from basketball.
Right. Yeah. That's a game changer. Yeah, that's amazing. Uh, yeah, and I think that's the thing that I really want to hammer home with coaches this year on the YouTube channel is it's talking about that more, going deeper into that because um, at the end of the day, I think that's the most critical piece to doing this business long term. It's the actual impact that you have on your clients. Um, and it's always a package deal. Like to have a long-term successful business, like the coach has to be a quality person and they need to work with quality parents and quality kids. And when those three things are working together in union, it's like pretty hard to fail in this business.
Yeah.
If all
And that's
three
what you're
are
gonna
working together.
you that's what you're gonna attract and what I've found is, when you set a standard, and you maintain that standard, you're
Mm,
gonna draw people, who want the standard of what you offer. And then they're going to bring other people in who appreciate those same values
right.
and the high standard.
Hmm.
Because what has made our program even more valuable now, Ben, is in our society that we're in now with social media and all the things, all the different types of things that are available to our youth now, they can be so distracted
Yeah.
so easily, and and that type of thing, and not be willing to really make sacrifices and
Hmm.
commitments in order to achieve goals.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because our program requires a lot of sacrifice and a lot of commitment. And, when our kids come in to train, they have to put their phones away. They're not allowed to be on their phones doing water break and, and that type of thing unless it's an emergency. But it's an old, and what parents love about it is they see it almost as an old school approach or an old school system that worked for them,
Hmm.
and there's certain the discipline and all of everything that comes with that. They realize that this is something that's missing
Yeah.
from youth today, and they feel like that our program is preserving that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. And it's something they probably miss, and it's hard to find stuff like that. Uh, that's amazing, man. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. And I know this is extremely valuable to the coaches that watch. And yeah, anybody who's watching this, if you want to reach out to James, go right below here. You can see his phone number there. Text him, get on a call. He'd be happy to chat with you guys. Awesome, man. Thanks so much.